Hey, badass crew, it's Jennie Bellinger, your direct sales Dom. I'm so excited to share with you a new tool that I am using personally, and I'm recommending it to all of my coaching clients as the number one way to stay connected and follow up. It's called contact mapping. Contact mapping is an app on your phone that makes it easy for you to quickly remember the most important details about every person that you meet and to set reminders so that you always follow up. And we all know that the fortune is in the follow up. I love the premium version because it comes with an amazing community, accountability, as well as enhanced features that I use every day. Go to contactmapping.com/BDSM, and the folks at Contact Mapping are offering you, my badass crew, a special to try the premium version of Contact Mapping for free for 14 days. Again, go to contactmapping.com/BDSM to get access to your free premium trial now.
Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales Dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales Dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales Dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And today I have with me not only an amazing human being, but someone who has become a really good friend of mine in the past 3 to 4 months. His name is Adrian Chenault, and Adrian is the CEO of Contact Mapping. Contact Mapping is unlocking the true power of every human connection. Contact mapping helps you be the most thoughtful and connected person you know by making it easy for you to remember those important little details, nudging you to stay in touch, and making it so that you can Google your own memory for every person that you meet. Prior to contact mapping, Adrian rapidly climbed the corporate ranks in the technology space using the same principles of connection he learned from his father and co-founder, Tom Chenault. So welcome to the show, Adrian.
Hey, Jennie. Thanks so much for having me. I've really been looking forward to this.
Oh, me too. I know, because I know every time we talk, we have a great conversation. And I was like, we should record one of these.
Amen.
So here we are today. So let's share. So we kind of touched on contact mapping. Let's share with my badass crew. How did you get into developing an app that will help people be more connected?
Yeah, thanks. I love getting to share a little bit of the story. So as Jennie mentioned in the intro, I started this company with my dad, and he has been in direct sales for 30 years or so. So most of my life, basically all of my life that I remember growing up, my dad was building in network marketing, and my parents were divorced. So he worked from home, and I really had this sort of like front row seat to the way that he built his business. And not only is he very successful in the network marketing world, but he's also a 32 plus year in recovery alcoholic. And so he's somebody who has had a lot of success, but has also had a ton of failure and a ton of challenges. And all of those things are sort of interwoven together. And he's just this person who is incredible at building connection, maintaining connection, looking after people from sort of the boardroom to the skid row, everything in between. He's remarkable at that. And so I watched that all happen. I think I absorbed a lot of it, but I went off. I'm the oldest kid. I went off in a different direction. I felt like, those are big shoes to fill. We're very different, especially on the face of us, even though I think I've learned that we're more alike than maybe I realized, but I wanted to go in my own direction. So I went off into the corporate world, spent 10 years there, and I had a string of being in the right place at the right time a lot of times in a row. But I think the reason that I kept being in the right place at the right time is that I had absorbed those same principles, and I built phenomenal connections in the business outside of finance, which is where I worked, that led to me becoming, at 32 years old, effectively the international CFO of a publicly traded company. And that was awesome, except that it also wasn't, because I was incredibly burned out. I had kind of realized that I had climbed this ladder, but that I didn't want to be a CFO of a publicly traded company. I was really overworked. We were living in Switzerland, and I had this epiphany that that wasn't really what my values were. And during that season, we realized that the parallel path that we had led was all about connection. And from that moment, this idea to create contact mapping as a company, which was actually a philosophy that my dad had already been espousing and teaching within his business for many years, we realized this needed to turn into something that had a life of its own, because it was so powerful, not just for direct selling, but across any industry. And so that's how we got here.
That is so cool. And so how long has contact mapping been in existence then?
About 4 years. Yeah, we got started in 2017.
Wowzers. Okay. So our businesses are almost exactly the same age, depending on which month you started. So.
Nice. August. So it's actually, we're like celebrating the 4-year anniversary right now. What about you?
Oh, nice. March 1st, it was officially, Level Up Coaching, my official umbrella company. Right.
Yeah.
So our companies are just a few months apart. That's so cute.
That's so cool. We're in the same grade.
I love it. We haven't even hit kindergarten yet, technically, Adrian.
Right,
so.
right. That's good. That's a hopeful thing. We got a lot of growing left to do.
Exactly. No, exactly. And so you've been running this business now for 4 years. And one of the things that I've learned about it now, I was first introduced to contact mapping, I think about 3 years ago by one of my clients. And it was interesting to me. And at the same time, I wasn't ready for it yet, which is what's, I didn't get it. And here's why I didn't get it. I didn't get it because you guys changed the way that you onboarded new clients. And the way you onboard new clients now is amazing, because you guys walk the talk. So share with everybody what makes you, because contact mapping, for those of you who don't know, is what's called a CRM. So let's start with the basics, because there's a lot of people in network marketing who've never heard of a CRM. They don't know what it is. They don't get what it is. So let's start with the basics there, and then we'll move into what makes your CRM different.
Yeah. Okay. So a CRM, you may have heard of, like some big companies out there like Salesforce or HubSpot are some of the ones that maybe you would have heard of before. And so CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. And there's pretty much one major problem with most CRMs out there today, which is that the R has become a total misnomer. Relationships are really nowhere to be found in most modern CRMs. They're really about tracking deals, and they're about what we call automation. They're about figuring out, how can I blast out messaging and maybe tailor that messaging, but I'm mass communicating with a lot of leads at one time, or I'm tracking sales deals. Those are really what those things do. And so people in business go, oh, I'm supposed to have a CRM, I'm supposed to have customer relationship management, blah, blah. And so they get these things, and everything, you go on Salesforce or on HubSpot or whatever, it all sounds like amazing. It's going to send an email to them when they do this thing. And it's like, you get all excited. But the problem is that, number one, most people don't need the majority of what is in a traditional CRM. And even if you think you do, chances are you're not going to be effective using it unless you have a huge team and you have somebody that really understands technology implementing that for you. And so I actually really resist even being lumped into the category of a CRM, because we're so different. Because what we really are is, we call ourselves a relationship development system. And we are, you could say, hiding on the front end of any CRM. So there's a point where it absolutely makes sense, like send emails to a list of 10,000 people. And like, that's a great thing for your business when you get there. But the way that you get there and the way that you stay on top is by building real relationships with people. And it's funny, I hadn't planned to talk about this, but I mentioned in my corporate career that I had really built relationships out in the business. And one of the people who I loved is this guy named John, who was a sales VP at the company I worked at. And he now works for Canva, which is the design company now. and he's awesome. We've stayed in touch. And another friend of mine works for a fitness training company, and they have this big problem. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, John could solve your problem. And so I just literally, like 5 minutes before this, hung up talking to John, and I think put together like a fairly significant enterprise deal for these old friends. And I probably have nothing to gain other than that both of those friends are already thinking more highly of me just for having made the intro, let alone when they kind of solve problems for each other together. And that's what this is all about, right? Whether it's directly involved in your direct selling business or not, when you live your life in that way, good things start to happen, and people want to find a way to do something for you in return. Even if it's not to join your business or be your customer, they go, oh man, I need to start scouting people to join Jenny's business. And I got it. It all comes full circle. And that's really what makes us different, is that we live in that space.
And I 100% agree, because my experience coming together with you guys this year was very different than my experience 3 years ago, because you guys were brand spanking new, still trying to figure things out, as was I. So it's all good. But what I have to say is I love the fact that you do in person, live. Well, I don't mean in person, live virtual onboarding. So everyone who comes in is invited, whether you've got a free version, whether you've got the premium version, everyone's invited to be a part of this onboarding call where you learn how to use the system. You guys don't send out some video saying, here, watch this tutorial. Good luck. You actually build relationship with your customers. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. You show us how it's done by doing it yourselves.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's so fun. Like, it totally doesn't scale. I don't know what we're going to do when we have 1 million customers, but it's so fun that I never want to give it up. We're just going to have like 30,000 trainers to do this, because I don't ever want to stop doing it, because it's the connections that we build are so amazing. And it's core to who we are as a company. So I appreciate you saying that.
And I really do think it's brilliant that you guys participate, that you and your dad are regularly on the calls, not necessarily the onboarding calls, although sometimes, but then you guys also offer these additional things for those who have the premium, which help people get the things done. You teach them how to build this habit into their business by offering these virtual calls, which I think are just so super cool. And that really helps build what you guys were talking about, how it's all about connection, right? So as you guys have been going through, what have been some of the cool stories that have come out of the connections that people make? So you just shared your own personal connection story. Is there, like, can you think of off the top of your head a connection story that's come from one of your customers or clients?
So many of them. So a couple that I think are really neat. So my dad is this amazing connector. And I think sometimes that that's such a benefit, but sometimes it's hard because I think people go, oh, well, but Tom's Tom, like I couldn't be like that. And we have a member of our community named Laurel, and she's the kindest woman. She's, really soft-spoken. Once you get her to open up, she's one of these people that has a heart of gold. She's lived all over the world. She was a missionary. She's doing all this stuff, but she did not see herself as somebody who had it within her to really go and connect on a huge level. And she started participating in our premium community, where we have 5 days a week, we have daily accountability calls that we call a daily launch. And she has 1,500 contacts in her phone. And over about a 2-month period, she said, she set this as a goal, right? It doesn't not everyone would want to do this, but she said, as a goal, I want to actually reach out to all 1,500 of these people. And just one little bite of the elephant at a time, she did that. And the stories and the connections that came out of that for her were incredible. And she has so much more confidence and so much more posture in the way she's building her business, because so often when we're in direct selling, especially if you haven't had a lot of success yet, like you meet somebody that like they would be awesome, and you're like, please come in. And like whether you realize it or not, you have this energy of like, I'm really attached to whether you say yes or not. And that's setting you up for heartache, and it actually makes you look desperate, whether, even however good you are at covering it up, it does. But if you have hundreds of conversations out there and you're able to go, I'm going to let these things evolve in their own time, then great things are going to happen. And you're going to be so much more comfortable and you're going to have more fun along the way. And you're not going to have to rush things or force things before the time is right. And so that's what I love. And Laurel is a really great example of that.
Oh, yeah. I was on the call when she announced that she made it through all 1,500 contacts. And I was like, Laurel, you are my hero. You are my hero now. Like, because I've got 1,900 and I was sitting there going, man, how am I going to get through all these? And I was like, well, if Laurel can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, that's it, right? That's the name of the game. We need those examples to be able to think to ourselves, I could do this, even if it feels like a big stretch for me.
Yeah. And so as you've been going through this, and because I mean, your dad, he really is the king of connection. I mean, in one of the first messages he ever sent me, he said, I love you. And I was like, that's an interesting first message to send. But you know what? Every I love you message I get from Tom, I'm like, oh, I love you too, Tom. Like send it right back to him, So he's putting love out in the world and he's receiving it back tenfold. And I'm sure that his business is growing because of this, because he's connecting with so many people, right?
Yeah. I mean, so he not all active today. He's been in one company for about 21 years now, but he has 1.5 million people that are in his organization underneath him over that period of time. And he obviously, there's no way he has a relationship with all of those people personally, but
Right.
He is absolutely ironclad consistent about connecting with at least 2 new people every day. And most of the time it is like about 2 people every day. Like you can build a tremendously big business with 2 people a day, but being consistent with it, interviewing them and then inviting them when it makes sense for them to take a look at what you're doing. And that's what we have shown is that if I can listen well enough to understand what you really need, I can make the ask in so much more powerful a way. And it doesn't have to take years of doing some elaborate dance to kind of get to the place where I can ask that question. It just takes me not trying to manipulate the conversation and instead really being curious so that I can either discover that there isn't a connection between what I have and what you need, or that I do discover what you need and I go, okay, now I can speak directly to what it is that you care about instead of speaking to it from what I care about.
Yeah. And I think that relationship building process and taking people through that and staying in touch and, just doing those check-ins is so incredibly powerful, because seriously, think about it. Now, Adrian, this is probably not true for you because you have a whole bunch of customers who are checking in on you to see how Adrian's doing. But for the badass crew who's listening right now, think about how many times in the last month you've had someone check in on you just to say, hey, how you doing? And you knew they were genuine about it. And if your answer is anything less than 4 or 5, then contact mapping should be the way that you should start thinking about doing this. Because again, imagine if you were doing 2 new connections, reaching out to 2 new people per day. That's it. When I go to your daily launch calls, right? On average, I'm getting about 3 or 4 connections taken care of in 15 minutes. It's awesome because that's way more than I was doing before.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said. And even to add one more layer to that, if you have 3 or 4 that are coming to you, you are probably in the 99th percentile. You're certainly in like the top 10% of the world out there. Everyone out there that you're talking to, they are getting 0. Nobody is calling them and reaching out and thinking of them. And if you can do that with genuine love and care in your heart, you have the ability to stand out in a massive way. And people are going to want to be a part of what you're doing just because of the way that you made them feel.
Absolutely. And I want to point out, you can utilize this not just for business. You can use this for your personal life too. Put in your family members' birthdays, because let's be honest, my own child's birthday snuck up on me, and I was like, oh my gosh, her birthday's next week.
Thank God it's next week, not last week.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. But it snuck up on me. Like I knew it was coming. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's next week. Right. So life sometimes gets in our way and we forget about these things. So, by having contact mapping and having this way that says, hey, gentle reminder from your phone, the nudges that you talked about, it's this nice, gentle reminder to say, hey, reach out to so-and-so, their birthday's coming up, or reach out to so-and-so. They just, had a big promotion in their business, whatever it may be. You can track all of that, but you can also just track the last time you talked to your best friend from high school, who I just got to talk with, FaceTime with on Saturday, which was awesome. So now I've got her in my phone to follow up with her way sooner than the last time I talked to her, which was probably about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And thanks to contact mapping, I'm going to remember to reach out to her in about a month, say, hey, how's life going? How are things in sunny San Diego?
That is so great.
Kind of thing. So as you've been going through and running this business, you have been going through and connecting and using powerful follow-ups, and you guys offer trainings as well, trainings on most Mondays. What are some of the things that you guys cover in these trainings? And is it always contact mapping, or how do you pick the people who are going to be participating in these opportunities to learn more?
Yeah. I love the training we provide. So one of the things that we have figured out along the way is we could have the greatest tool in the world, but at the end of the day, you can't automate the authenticity of a relationship. Like you have to do the heart part of the equation. We can remind you, we can make you look amazing. We can help you to wow them by asking them a really specific question about something that they mentioned the last time, because of the way that we structure this stuff. But at the end of the day, it doesn't work if you don't show up. And I think of it often like a gym membership, right? Like gyms are built on the assumption that you're going to give them money, you're going to show up once or twice, and you're not going to go again. And that might be a decent business financially, but that's an incredibly low impact business. And I think what we discovered early on is that we were at risk of being that kind of business, because everyone wants what we have. Everyone aspires to do what we're talking about, but few are willing to do the work, even though we make it so that it's really not that much work. It's just, we make it fun. We show you how it can be fun. But in order for someone to really experience that, we have found that training is really important. And so we have, for our premium members, about 50% of the time, our contact mapping team directly trains, and we share very specific, concrete things that you can be doing to develop more powerful relationships. But we like to bring in the best and the brightest. And so we recently brought in this amazing woman who runs this coaching company, and she has a podcast. Her name is Jennie Bellinger.
I was like, oh, where's he going with this?
We had the president of Habit Finder, which is the official Og Mandino company. They have this incredible diagnostic that helps you to understand how your brain really works and how you can take more action and be less judgmental of yourself to help yourself to grow. So these are the kinds of people that we're bringing in. It's phenomenal. We've brought in best-selling authors. We've brought in highly regarded coaches. And really the table stakes is we bring in people who resonate with our values, that people and human connection come first, and that tactics and those sorts of things come later. And we have room for all of it, but that's sort of what we have to agree on. But it's great because then, we had Michelle Cunningham, who's an amazing trainer in network marketing, who was talking about how to use your Facebook, not the profile picture, but whatever the other one is, the cover photo to get people to contact you. And she's like, this is how you can actually generate new conversations from your Facebook cover photo. And then when they contact you, now you can start to ask them questions, and you can discover what they need, and you can help them to get more of what they want. And so sometimes it's like, it feels very far from contact mapping, but it's helping our community to apply this across every part of their life, every part of their business. And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I've been a part of, you had Jordan Adler come in and train, which by the way, his episode just went live here on the podcast
Oh,
recently
fantastic. I got to go listen to it.
because of the connection from you guys, which is phenomenal. So Jordan Adler has trained. Paul Blanchard from Habit Finder was phenomenal. I also reached out to him. And so now he's going to be on the show later. Amazing trainers that I have seen on there. And yes, I'm biased. I was one of the trainers and I had a great time training the community. It was really fun to come in and help them because I love that the community is mostly network marketers because we all get each other's business. We get it. We understand how it works. You don't feel it. What's really nice is it feels like this was really built for network marketers, but really could be used by anyone who wants to make a real life relationship connection with the people in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's really well said. It comes from that background. And I think it has, network marketing is such a phenomenal profession because it really understands, that if your network is strong, the marketing is easy in anything, right? And so that's true in network marketing, that's true in real estate, that's true in all of these different things. But I think the wisdom that comes from the network marketing profession is amazing. And we're lucky to have that kind of built into the DNA of the product that we created.
And I love it because I know, having been in my own direct sales and network marketing business previously, there were times when I was utilizing certain tools or whatever, and I felt like network marketing was kind of like shoved to the side and not given its proper due. And I love that you guys are like, hey, we work with network marketers, we work with real estate agents, we work with all kinds of anybody who wants to build a relationship, but that really fits in well with the network marketing industry. So one last question that I ask a lot of people, which is, what is your secret to success, Adrian?
Yeah. So the simplest way of putting it is just staying in touch. There's so much power in the very simple act of staying in touch because if you've been building your network marketing business for any period of time, the reality is that most people, for a whole variety of reasons, they're not ready for what you have in the moment that you first talk to them. And I think the most exhausting and painful mistake that most network marketers make is it's like, okay, if you don't want it now, like goodbye. And it's not like it's not a mean goodbye, but it's like, I'm just going to move on and I'm just going to constantly run after new people. And I never circle back. And circling back is where all of the magic happens, because if you do it, especially if you do it right, and especially if you come across in a way that's genuine and that's professional when you interact with people, the second time you go back around to them, they already have bought into you because you listened to them, because you know their story, because you wrote down a couple things. And so now you're not just starting from scratch. And people's circumstances, their worldview, their, all these sort of things. There's a guy who I know who, was making $250,000 a year as a personal trainer, was crushing it. And somebody was approaching him about network marketing. And of course he would have been a great candidate for it, but there was no pain. There was no need. He had enough money. He had enough thing. And, fast forward 9 months, and, unfortunately the circumstances are that he went through a divorce. He had these challenges, but all of a sudden he's in a completely different headspace. And the right person who cared about him at the beginning, who let it be and didn't force something that wasn't the right timing at that time, earns the right when the timing does change to be able to say, hey, I know this didn't used to be a fit for you. I wonder if maybe, having another stream of income could really help you as you're trying to navigate your way through this life transition. And so those are the things where if you stay in touch, you hold on to the right to be in that conversation when somebody's life changes, and you will stand out way ahead of the rest of the pack, because it is amazing how extremely hard so many network marketers that I know work and miss that. And I think miss so much of the fruit of the labor that they could have if they would just build a system to circle back. So that is something that I have seen work over and over again with thousands of people we have worked with in network marketing. And it's also something that I have seen work extremely well in every other profession, every other facet, even in personal life. Like people are busy. If you stay in touch, if you are the one that is making the effort and taking the initiative, so much opportunity will come to you because very few other people will take the time and the energy to do what you're doing.
Very true. It showed up in Jack Canfield's book, in Principle 17, which is ask, ask, ask.
Yes.
He calls it asking, but I think in contact mapping, it's connecting, coming back and connecting again. It's going to take, it used to be once upon a time when I first started in business, about 10 years ago in my first business, it was, when I did my research back then, it was 5 to 7 touches to get to the point where someone was willing to buy a service or make a decision, buy a product, buy a service, or say no forever. Right. Whereas now we are so inundated because now social media and advertising is literally everywhere, even coming to our phones via text. It's now taking on average 7 to 12 touches before someone makes a decision. So that means if you've only asked someone one time, if you've only had one conversation, you're still probably 6 conversations away from a yes, a maybe, or an absolute no, don't ever talk to me again. Right. So, which let me tell you, I've never had that happen, guys. So let me frame that properly. But I think that's a really important thing, is just that circling back, like you said, Adrian, is really so important because it's going to take those multiple touches, those points of contact before people go, oh, so what is it that you do again? Well, I think maybe what you have to offer is something that I want now, but it's going to take 7 to 12 opportunities. And if you don't have a system to track how many times you've talked to so-and-so, you may or may not get their business.
Yep.
And the next person who reaches out about the essential oils, the nutritional supplements, whatever it may be, might be the one who gets the business because that was the 7th touch.
Exactly.
You just never know. You just never know. Well, Adrian, in our pre-conversation, you mentioned that you have a really cool gift for all of my badass crew. What is it that you're going to be offering to my listeners today?
Yeah, thank you so much. So we talked a little bit about this throughout. So Jennie is a passionate user of contact mapping. She's plugged into this contact mapping premium community, which is actually the reason I've talked about it as much as I have is because she's part of it. And so she's like an amazing example of what we're doing. And so there's a free version of contact mapping. So you can go check it out right now. You can get it on your phone. There's no credit card required or anything. But when if you're really serious about building a great business, and if you're listening to this podcast, if you're trying to grow and invest in yourself, then I think this is the kind of person that we're talking to. You want to have like the best tools and the best community at your disposal. And so the premium version of contact mapping gives you, on top of the app in your phone, it gives you integrations with all the leading social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Clubhouse. It gives you a desktop version through a Chrome extension. So you can add notes during like a Chrome or through a Zoom call, or while you're just at your computer and you have your keyboard in front of you. And it gives you access to all of the training and all of that accountability and support that we do, where you can be like a Laurel and you can have people that are supporting you and cheering you on as you make these big strides in your business. And so what we are willing to do, so it's $30 a month. So it's a really small investment. If you get one new business builder in your business in an entire year, this is going to pay for itself, and you're going to do far more than that. But we are going to give you a 14-day trial to be able to do that, which is something that we don't offer that's a special bonus for this community. And so I'm super excited to share it with you. I don't know if you want to share the link or if you want me to throw it out there or how you want to do that, but I'm super excited to share that with your tribe.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what the link is, and then we'll also put it in the show notes so people can go just click right on it. But if anybody's listening and wants to hear what that is, go for it.
Cool. Yeah. So if you just go to contactmapping.com/BDSM for the podcast, BDSM, you can create your account for free there. And then as soon as you upgrade to premium, we will give you that extension on the trial to 14 days. So you won't be charged anything at all for 14 days. You can plug into all of those resources that Jenny's been sharing about. And we're really excited to welcome you into it. So it's going to be a ton of fun.
That is awesome. I see, this wasn't even something that I got to take advantage of, guys. Because I immediately jumped into premium as soon as I saw the features and saw, especially for me, what was most important, Adrian, were those daily launch calls. Yeah. As soon as I heard that was the thing, now I immediately jumped on board, because I said, if I'm going to invest in a way to keep track of my relationships, then I want accountability. And that's really what I'm choosing to invest in is getting it done. And it's coming back to me in so many ways, not just in the fact that I get to be friends with you. I mean, come on, that's like bonus number one. I get to hang out with you multiple times a week. Oh, darn. But it's also the community of support, and we all cheer each other on. And I actually when I was in San Diego last week, I got to meet one of the Contact Mapping community members and have dinner with her. It was awesome.
That was so cool. I was having major FOMO when I saw that photo.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's okay. Next time I'm in Colorado, I'll make sure that I head out your way too. So I promise.
That's awesome. Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Well, everybody, you guys know how this goes. If you're interested in checking out what Adrian is offering you guys, and I highly recommend it. And for 2 weeks, set aside that time in your calendar to go check out the onboarding calls, the daily launch calls. They're 15 minutes at a time to get stuff done. Try it out. Get to try it before you buy it, guys. I didn't even get that. I'm in love with it. But try it before you buy it. Go check that out, which is contactmapping.com/BDSM. And as long as you're not driving, grab your phone, click on the episode that you're listening to, scroll up, and you'll see the link right there with your free 14-day trial to check out Contact Mapping Premium with every feature turned on for you for free for 14 days. So thank you, Adrian. I so appreciate you doing that for my community.
Thank you, Jenny. This has been fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I so appreciate you. And Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast, so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.